All right, if it's Monday night, that means only one thing. It's time for an all-new The RCW Show Live, coming at you this July 28th, 2014. I can't believe I'm practically saying this month is over. We're about to go into August. Man, my good pal, you guys know him. You might be familiar with his work. He's worked in such promotions as All Pro Wrestling, Vendetta Pro Wrestling, Primos Wrestling, Wrestling Manager Extraordinaire, the Evil Genius, Titus Machiavelli. Titus, how you doing, friend?
I'm doing well, Lee. How you doing?
Oh, a little bit tired, man. This Raw. I needed something to wake me up, and that final segment definitely did it, man.
Well, that was the one thing that got me going, because I was tweeting, I was fading. It wasn't a bad Raw. It just wasn't action-packed, and we've gotten spoiled over the last couple of weeks. Had some really action-packed segments. This just didn't. This was a mental Raw, and it was just a little too mental. It was all about promos. I mean, shoot, the first hour and 20 minutes we had one match.
Yeah. I was keeping track right along with you. Yeah, I was like, wow, can we get to some wrestling already? Because this is way too much damn talking. Seriously. We want to get you guys involved. As always, post those comments down below. Interact with us on social media, whether it's Twitter at the RCWR Show. You can hit up Titus on Twitter as well, Evil Genius Titus. Look us up on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. If you miss all of that, just check out the episode description down below. And, of course, share this a number of ways. You can Facebook it, Google+, retweet. Best ways to spread the word about our content. Those of you that might be a little bit curious on our thoughts about what's happening with the TNA wrestling promotion, we will be talking about it at the very end. And I'm mostly going to let Titus run with it because I think I said beautifully and quite eloquently what needed to be said last night. And I do thank those of you that had checked out that piece that we did, Breaking the News as Titus. I found out about that piece of news literally like right before I went to bed at like about 1 in the morning. And I guess at that point the news was probably maybe about 90 minutes old, and I was like, what the hell? And but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. For now, let's just, and this is going to be a very short show because there's not that much to talk about. It was, like Titus said, you had about an hour, 20 minutes of nothing but talk. And I will admit, Titus, the first segment, I loved it. It was magnifico, you know. I love how we had John Cena, Paul Heyman, they're going back-to-back on the mic. I'm saying, okay, John Cena, Paul Heyman, one-on-one. Okay, this is going to be a very good segment. I wasn't expecting Brock Lesnar to come out at this point. Titus, what you said about maybe, what was it, buddy, 2 weeks ago, that they need to keep John Cena and Brock Lesnar separated right on up till SummerSlam. I think that might be the game plan, man. A great segment that we saw right there is John Cena. He got real serious with his promo. Actually, he was pretty serious throughout the whole thing. He really did a good job building up Brock Lesnar, and you know those irritating what chants. My God, this guy's cutting a very serious promo, and the fans can only chant what. I get that maybe it sounded a little bit too cliche, typical John Cena promo and all that, but he was being serious here. He was trying to put over his SummerSlam opponent, but leave it to Paul Heyman to come out and kind of give a new little spark to that segment. He actually kind of helped saved it as we saw more of a aggressive John Cena come out and talk about the same type of passion that he knows Heyman has deep down inside of him, as he has it as well, and that he's going to do everything he can to defeat Brock Lesnar and go on to continue being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. But it kind of seems like the one-up went more over towards Heyman Lesnar.
Well, you know, the great, it was a great promo by John Cena in many ways. We have to try to resell this match. Don't forget, it was only just over a year ago that these two went at it at Extreme Rules. And so we have to be able to create this illusion that since then, Brock Lesnar has become even more dangerous, has become more of a threat. And Cena comes out to sell that from the beginning. You know, a little concerned. I'm a little worried about this. This is a killer. This is a monster. This guy eats kids for a living. Very heartfelt, very passionate. And the great thing about Paul Heyman is that, and maybe I'm biased, but a manager character is the person who can help push that storyline through. So through Heyman's tremendous promo, you got Cena be able to feed off of that and use a very passionate word, very passionate tempo about how much he loves what he does. He does it in spite of the boos, in spite of the cheers, in spite of all of it. He loves what he does, and it was fun. And then of course you had Cesaro. A little weird having him come out after last week, claiming that he is no longer a Heyman guy and hug Paul Heyman. But I think one of the most tweeted words of the night, next to jailbird, was walking billboard, and that's what Cesaro referred to John Cena, and of course you yourself had to use that word as well.
Yeah. I mean, neon lights. I know I see nothing but money on John Cena every single time I look at him because I know his merchandise sells. But yes, he is literally a walking billboard. And that was a great line that Cesaro had said to Cena. He goes, what are you doing with those tennis shoes on, those sneakers on? You're not supposed to wrestle in sneakers. But, whoa, wait a minute. Then again, you can't wrestle. You don't know how to wrestle. So it's like, and then we see this improv match between Cena and Cesaro, which I must admit, Titus, it was actually a very solid matchup right there.
4 stars.
Yeah, it was to open up the show and all that for 2 segments. Yeah, it was really good. I kind of didn't really like the whole Cesaro getting defeated by Cena, but I understand the end game. It's all about making Cena look strong, giving him that necessary momentum he needs.
What you had in this matchup, Lee, is you have to have Cena go over. He has to win this match. Otherwise, if Cesaro beats him, well then, if Cesaro, a mid-card wrestler, can beat John Cena, the champion, then Brock Lesnar, he has no problem doing so. So to make sense, it has to work that way. But the way they ended the match, with the only way Cena was able to get Cesaro pinned was an AA off of the top rope.
Yeah.
You had to kill Cesaro to beat him. And it allows Cesaro to save face. He still looks strong. Cena gets the victory. He stays strong as a champion with his upcoming match. Quality match. And I think Cena showed that, no, he is not Bret Hart. He is not an excellence wrestler. But he put on some very good match tonight. And I said that a couple of weeks ago. When you put John Cena against somebody that he can feed off of, he elevates his game. And tonight, he did another good job, had some great counters to some of the Cesaro moves, took a nice Cesaro swing, and all those great dirt sheets, by the way, that said the WWE was burying Cesaro, that Cesaro couldn't use the giant swing tonight. Those dirt sheets did a great job. Good job, dirt sheets. Cesaro was against the WWE champion and put him in the giant swing, so never believe what you read in the dirt sheets.
Exactly. That's why I always tell folks, take what you hear with a grain of salt. It's so funny reading some of the comments that come in from some people, and it's not our long-time subscribers and viewers. It's usually folks that just happen to stumble upon us. Well, I heard that. No. First off, let's just get it right. You didn't hear. Be honest, you read online. Okay.
Yeah, I heard. Oh, right. So you were talking to Fit Finley backstage at a show, and he gave you some inside dope, right?
Right. Right.
No. You read at some sheet where some guy heard from somebody who had this idea, who thought he overheard the game of telephone, man.
Mm-hmm. See, Titus can hear things because he's in the business like that. I've been fortunate enough to interview various folks, and I won't say who I'm friends with, but if I'm trying to find out something, I can be like, hey, man, be anonymous. Tell me what's going on with, so I can say to a certain extent, I know something. But all this, I heard it through the grapevine. Y'all need to stop with that and just be like, I read online. Dot, dot, dot. I was chuckling myself when I had read that about Cesaro. I'm like, huh? I'm like, who the hell made this up? Somebody must have been bored because it must be a slow weekend for news.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? How about Paige? And you know what? We really didn't get on her last week, but I was listening to one of my colleagues, and the way he made fun of Paige last week was hilarious. It's my house now. It's my house now.
No.
No, and I'm like, okay, is she gonna come out this week and say that? Because if they do it right, she finally has a catchphrase, and they can maybe put that on her shirt or whatever. But she avoided that this week. It kind of seemed like now she was taking a little bit more, somewhat of a serious approach, but still being a little bit juvenile at the same time. Titus, for me, I'm just looking at this Divas match and what was to come to end Raw. And, buddy, I just can't get behind this match that's going on between Paige and AJ. Something seems missing.
Really?
It's like I'm not feeling that spark.
I think tonight you got, per my advice, that heel turn has begun. She had that big outbreak last week, and then she apologized. It won't happen again. We're still friends, in a very condescending way. So you feel that there's this. I'm not really sorry. I just feel like I have to say it. But the best part was when she said, "If you believe that, you're crazy." You never want to call AJ crazy. And then you see what happened. I actually am liking the way it's going. I think that you have to kind of slow burn that heel turn a little bit, because she wasn't a strong face, as we talked about over the last couple of weeks. She was struggling as a face. If she was a strong face and flipped the script and went straight heel, that would make a little more sense, I think. But she wasn't, so we got to kind of slowly make you hate her.
Right. Yeah, I still can't. Maybe the in-ring action will win.
It's going to be a hell of a match.
Yeah, I mean, but right now I still can't. I need something that can just really kind of take it to the next level. Don't get me wrong. I love what's going on with Paige. I love the fact that she turned. Honestly, I wish WWE would have milked it just a little while longer, but they want to get the ball rolling for the SummerSlam match. I understand. But me personally, I just need for it to go to that next level, and I'll be happy. What that next level is, I don't know. I just feel like I need them to crank it up a notch. But they did pretty solid tonight. I will give them that. How about the Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Chris Jericho segment? I mean, my God, way to rewind it back to leading up to WrestleMania 18, man. I mean, I had got goosebumps there. I kind of felt like a little kid again, man.
It was nice to see it when the music hit. Yeah, I had the same feeling, going, oh hell, we're going back in time a little bit.
Yeah.
Was really wondering if he was going to throw down the brutal, skinky, whatever he says about her. But as he was getting ready to say it, and he was going through the whole line, that's when Triple H interfered and told him to shut up, and which is fine. They got the gist of it. Those of us who've been around enough years go, I know what you were going to say in the PG era, but I didn't actually have to say it per se.
Speaking of which, dude, how about that crowd as he was saying those lines? I mean, first off, I had to take it all in a 1-2 punch, because first, Chris Jericho leads them into singing the Bad Boys theme song. And, if you've watched Cops for a long time, pretty much everybody knows they either know it verbatim or they can at least, maybe sing a
Sing the
couple of,
chorus.
lines. But all they knew was, right, all they was the chorus. And it was kind of like, and that was actually like half the audience knew the chorus. It was like they were just kind of looking at the other person, bad boys, bad, and it's kind of like that. And then when he started to describe Stephanie McMahon, just the amount of people that wasn't able to get behind that, it was kind of like, to me, it just really showed how much the times have changed, like
Yeah.
for the wrestling audience, because if this would have been, my God, and Titus, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if this would have been, I would say, it's 2014, if it might have been 2007, 2008, I have a feeling the crowd would have been behind it and they would have been saying it right along with him.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's been a few years since you've seen Chris Jericho and Stephanie in that sort of um, setting, and of course, since Jericho used a line. Yeah, times have changed, and I think that was a great nod to us, our generation, and then it allows your son to sit back and go, Dad, what was he saying? Well, son, let me tell you about the early 2000s, and you can have that conversation, and then you can go to the network and you can watch some old Chris Jericho stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, times have changed.
Yeah, WrestleMania 18, for those of you that need to get yourselves caught up to speed, or you want to hip your kids to it, WrestleMania 18 is what you want. Triple H versus Chris Jericho. I believe that was for the Undisputed Championship, right, Titus?
I believe so.
Yeah, Stephanie McMahon was managing Chris Jericho. Talk about an odd alliance right there, which Jericho had talked about on his Breaking the Code Walls of Jericho DVD that came out a couple of years back. Some great stuff right there. While you're at it, you might as well look up Chris Jericho versus Triple H on Raw for the WWF title. That's got to be like for me personally, like number one moments as far as his WWF career, because that was the night that he won it. But then on that same episode, Triple H punked referee Earl Hebner to reversing the decision, and the belt went back to Triple H. It was some good stuff right there. But yeah, Jericho basically, he came out, poked fun. He wanted Bray Wyatt. He didn't get Bray Wyatt. Instead, he actually had met the Money in the Bank briefcase winner there in Seth Rollins.
Well, he actually met the briefcase
first, yeah.
Yeah, they met the briefcase first. Or the briefcase met him from behind, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah. How'd you enjoy that match? I thought it was a nice, decent pace there.
It was a good match. It was not what I had expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
The ending was
a little more.
You don't want to give too much away for free. I would expect if these two were sitting at a WrestleMania stage, it would be tear the house lights out, tear the house down. But it was a good match. I still would think that Cena and Cesaro was a better match overall. But the ending was tremendous with the code breaker, Rollins up in the air, and that code breaker coming down off the top rope, catching him. That was just, the timing is tremendous that Chris Jericho has to deliver that code breaker. And of course, the match gets interrupted by the Wyatts, who make a statement with Chris Jericho.
Let me ask you, because we've seen Chris Jericho back for a couple of weeks now, and we've seen him have some good in-ring action with a few people. What's been your take of him so far? Because, like, for me, watching him wrestle, I don't like saying this about Chris Jericho. I love the man tremendously. I've been a big fan of his since his days in WCW to when he made his WWF debut. But this go round, something about him in the ring-wise, it just kind of comes off like he's not all there. And it's understandable if he's not all there, because his hand is just, he's got Fozzy, which, by the way, we have reviewed that album. Very solid album. Do You Want to Start a War? If you haven't checked out our review for it, after you get done with this, check it out on our channel. But Titus, it just really seems like, I don't know, this isn't the Jericho that like had the whole Jericho show going on and the feuding with the Shawn Michaels. I don't feel that aura.
I I haven't felt that about Chris Jericho since his first time he left. I think when he came back to the Save Us Y2J, started out real well. Loved the whole Save Us campaign. He was going to be, up against Randy Orton, who still is not, has always been what Randy Orton is. It felt okay. I just haven't felt that about Jericho since before he first left the WWE. I think some of his he's different. He has a different perspective on it. His character is a little. I think this last few times he's been back, it's more of a throwback to who he was. I wasn't a big fan of the Jericho type of Jericho he was. He always had that squinty, like he was sucking on a lemon face. It's just, you said a little while ago, times have changed. Jericho is not who he was. I don't think a lot of guys in their 40s are what they once were, except for some, included here.
Yeah, like Evil Genius. Yeah. Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels still had it.
Yeah, well, you got that special. That's where you go from being called Mr. WrestleMania to just a Hall of Famer. A Mr. Hall of Fame versus a Hall of Famer. Chris Jericho, Hall of Famer, one of the greats. Shawn Michaels, Mr. Hall of Fame, because he was just that much better than even a regular Hall of Famer.
This current relationship, or any time Chris Jericho is able to work out something with the WWE, it's always beneficial to both parties, because from WWE's standpoint, they have a veteran wrestler in a Chris Jericho who, if they're trying to test out somebody, see if they're the right type of person to be taken to that next level, main event scene, whatever, mid-card, whatever you want to call it. Jericho is definitely that good person to come to. He's proven that if you put him in front of a camera, he can entertain you. But Titus, do you think that the past few times that Jericho has returned, he could be getting into a position where WWE may be getting to that point where they say to themselves, you know what, it's great having an extra hand, but Jericho really isn't able to draw like he used to. And I'm not talking about like in a money type of way, but draw in okay, not only is this guy entertaining in the ring, but he's entertaining when he's cutting his promos and all that. Do you think we might get to that point where WWE kind of goes, you know what, RVD, Chris Jericho, we love you guys. Y'all are definitely going to be future WWE Hall of Famers, but you know what? Stock hasn't quite been there investing with you guys. We're going to go homegrown.
That's it. I think with Jericho, it'd be a little different in the sense that he doesn't overstay his welcome. He comes, he stays a program or two, and then he moves on. He comes back a year later. That keeps it a little bit more fresh, a little bit more. It keeps it from getting stale, I think, in many ways. He isn't that guy who just doesn't seem to let go of the business. It's time to go, and he doesn't leave the door. I think Ric Flair was pushed out because Ric Flair in the ring was over. It was done, and it was getting a little bit tough to watch. Jericho still can do everything that he has been able to do in his prime. He's past his prime. There's no doubt. He isn't out to build a legacy. He's already done that. I think he's getting a chance to work with some of the younger guys that he wants to work with. I read in certain places that he wanted to face Bray Wyatt, that he wanted to do this because he was interested in wrestling that guy. So I think that's where he is in his career, is in the ability to pick his spot, come just from here to there, take some time away, and it still feels fresh. It's not stale.
Right. Right. Honorable mention: Usos, Dolph Ziggler. They picked up a victory over Rybaxo and The Miz, as the X-Men were at ringside to watch this. I know that's a lawsuit waiting to happen if WWE even try to do anything with that name. I'm trying to figure out a new name for them. I didn't realize how much Xavier Woods had looked like Brother Love last week, man.
Yeah, he was brother love, huh?
Yeah.
Um, I'm interested to see where this goes. It is, the talk through the Twitterverse last week um, came from MVP talking about the greatest form of flattery is imitation. That's a really big stretch to try to take credit for
Mm.
for that. I mean, considering that Dixie's got the WWE playbook, she's reading it play by play. I think it's a mixed bag. You could have one or of another thing could come out of this. One, it could be just nothing more than a rehash of the Nation of Domination, and been there, done that, and all these guys who would be involved at this point, Kofi, Big E, and Xavier Woods, end up getting buried because it doesn't go anywhere, and it's a 3MB type of thing. The other side of it is it becomes a Nation of Domination with the successful run and a breakout star. And I said that last week, that I think Kofi Kingston has the ability to be a breakout from now. He can finally shed some of that Jamaica feel that he had from his beginning of his career. Take a heel turn, which I think he desperately needs a refresh. And I think that Kofi could be the breakout star in this group because he's got all the talent in the world. It's a chance for him to maybe do something a la The Rock with the Nation of Domination.
I tell you what, if they are going to try to go in the route of the Nation of Domination, it's so funny we're talking about this because I was actually checking out some stuff on the WWE Network over the weekend. And man, when you just go back and you look at it now, I now have a newfound appreciation for the Nation of Domination because when I was living through it the first go round, I really didn't particularly care too much for it.
Right.
Love Farouk though. I was a big fan of Farouk, him being the first black world heavyweight champion. I was a fan of him and everything, but I really didn't particularly care for that stable. But only now, later years, do I appreciate it. And if they are going to go that route, they've got a long, long road ahead of them because they're going to need a little bit more than an Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods has always, as far back even as TNA, when he was Consequences Creed, yeah, great in-ring action ability he had, but he wasn't winning people over on the mic skills, so
yeah, I mean, you compare this to the Nation of Domination, it's really a tough thing because, like you said, you got Farouk, Ron Simmons, WWE Hall of Famer, first African American, world heavyweight champion over in WCW. You got Mark Henry, first ballot Hall of Famer. You got that guy. What's his name? He's an actor now. Rock. Yeah, The Rock was in there. D'Lo Brown, another quality guy who I got an opportunity to train with for at one point. And of course, you can throw in Owen Hart, who is Owen Hart. So it's hard to compare that to Nation of Domination because you've got such a stacked group of guys, talent-wise. Yeah, Xavier Roberts. Not somebody who can. Xavier Woods, not somebody who can bring bring a whole lot to the table. Big E, I don't think there's a lot of talent in Big E. Langston. The talent is in Kofi, but they need something or one or two people to add some more. I don't know. There's a word. It's called gravitas. It's when you're looking at like a politician. A lot of times these guys who are running for president will grab somebody with. Barack Obama grabbed Joe Biden. He has experience and knowledge and gravitas, and I think that's what these guys need: is that experienced, wise soul to guide them along the way, whether it be a manager or whether it be a superstar, whatever. I think that's what that component put in there. They're Yoda. It'd be good. They could be in good shape.
You know, as soon as you said that, a couple of classic retro wrestlers come into mind. What I'd give to see, and this has always been my dream, like I wish that, and maybe it can happen in the near future, but I've always wished that WWE would look out for the wrestlers that have given back to the business for so many years and they're starting to get up there in age. Basically, hey, look, you want a job, you're always going to have one with the WWE. We'll find something for you no matter what. And, you know, it sucks that, like, guys like Harley Race, you know, we don't get to see cats like them, Nick Bockwinkel, be managers and help some of these young guys out, because as soon as you said that, I'm picturing one of those two guys maybe to be like the colonel, if you will, for this stable.
Yeah, you know, I the first person I thought of, you know, and it's not a good one, is Mark Henry. I think with this stable, it's going to have to be somebody who is African American to kind of fit in with I think that's the kind of the look they're going for. But please don't let it be Tony Atlas. Please, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
You know, talking about, you know, older guys and so forth. I don't know who it is. I don't know what it is. There's something there that needs to happen to add some maturity to that group.
Maybe
we'll see where it goes.
Maybe they can get Paul Mooney.
What's that?
Paul.
Right.
Yeah, there's a man. That guy can talk. Yeah, I'm still enjoying the ride so far. I saw that they tried to continue it on Main Event last week. I was like, oh, okay, because I don't know that many people watch Main Event now, even though it's live. But I thought it was kind of interesting that they continued it last week. I didn't watch SmackDown. Did they continue it on SmackDown too?
You know, I haven't watched SmackDown. I couldn't tell how long.
Nobody watches SmackDown anyway. So, R-Truth, he defeated Bo Dallas. How about that?
R-Truth believed and came through. You know, Bo Dallas gave him an inspirational speech, got him all worked up, and he believed. The streak is over.
But like I said in my controversial tweet now, Bo Dallas beat the living hell out of R-Truth. He beat him so bad, if you know your movies well, he beat him like Denzel Washington in Glory. Remember that?
I was just going to say that I had a couple of tweets that said that Little Jimmy is the one behind the 17-1. Whatever. Okay. Yeah, Bo Dallas loses to R-Truth, which makes no sense whatsoever. I'm not sure what that's all about. That's going to be probably R-Truth and Bo Dallas pre-show dark match before SummerSlam.
That move was just so out of left field, you know, because, like, you see R-Truth, you're like, hey, it's R-Truth. Hey, where he been? Hey, he grew his hair out a little more. Okay, that's cool. Oh, he's taking on Bo Dallas?
Yeah, that's easy. It's Bo Dallas. What? It's over? It was over quick.
Yeah. Like, that wasn't even a 2-minute match.
No, and that's how those first few matches ended up being, was very quick.
Yeah, I'm curious what's going to happen with that one. Are you buying into this whole thing of R-Truth eventually joining the X-Men?
No. That blunt enough? No, I think R-Truth is... everything that he touches doesn't go well. I mean, it just doesn't go anywhere with it. A fresh... I don't know. It would be just trying to retread him in another. I just want something different than that.
Next up, we had Rusev, Swagger. They had a nice little flag segment. I'll let you have that one.
Well, I'm going to say it was a great segment, and of course, I'll tell you why. Because you had two managers doing what managers do. That segment only works because of Lana and Zeb Coulter. Otherwise, it really has nothing behind it because Rusev and Swagger, they don't work the mic very well. They don't get you excited very well. They don't. That's not what they do. But they are pushed in a very hot, very interesting, topical as well storyline. This could be a good matchup. It could be one that really is a surprising SummerSlam match that I don't think people are going to be expecting to be that good. It could be very good, but Lana, she just continues to show that she can definitely talk. I mean, she has got her job down very, very well. Zeb Coulter, the old dog that he is still just as strong, delivering a great promo. This is why managers are important, Lee, and this is what was missing from wrestling for multiple years. And I had the opportunity to sit and have a small chat with Zeb Coulter about 8, 9, 10 weeks ago. In person, we ran into each other at an airport, and he says, good that WWE has brought us managers back. And you had 3 managers in this show, in Heyman, Lana, and Zeb Coulter, that really pushed their storylines to the next level. And this is a company in WWE who's forgot it, seemed to remember it, and it's working for them. Another company doesn't use managers still, and you see where they're at.
Yeah, big time. I agree with you 100% on the managers. When you think about it, in hindsight, they really did step up big time, especially when you go with Paul Heyman. I mean, are you going to get sold into whatever match is happening with Brock Lesnar and he's not there to support the hell out of it? Well, you just cue up Paul Heyman and everything else is golden. Yeah, these managers have been representing big time, no doubt about that.
And I offered TNA the opportunity to restore the manager 2.5, 3 years ago, and they didn't choose to. And before WWE started doing all of that.
And look where they are now, you know?
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, later.
After that, an absolute waste of 5 minutes of my life as Damien Sandow comes to the ring as an astronaut. He loses in an absolute 20-second squash to Adam Rose. I think Adam Rose's entrance was longer than the match.
Yeah.
I'm over this Damien Sandow thing. It was cute. It was clever. It was some different things. You were like, what's he going to do this week? Oh, Vincent Kennedy McSandow. It was all kind of nifty. It's now starting to get really, an astronaut. Why? Just because they're in Houston? That was the best they could come up with? Multi-billion-dollar creative company can't come up with anything better than that? It was horrible. Next.
Thank God. Yeah, I was going to say, thank God it was followed up by Roman Reigns and Kane.
Well, that started out with entrances, and that was all we saw.
Yeah, because Randy Orton had, that was a nice, what do you think about that, man? I mean, now this we can't confirm. Apparently various fans that have seen some WWE house shows over the weekend, they had noted that what was going on with a match between Randy Orton and Roman Reigns didn't sit quite well with them. Apparently that was like they dubbed the worst match at the house show event. Yeah, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, some guys don't click, but the reason for not dark matches. I'm sorry. Reason for house shows is to do just that. Work them out, find their chemistry, get their groove on, and you'll see stories from guys. I saw one recently with Triple H and was it Triple H and Shawn Michaels, or no, it's Kevin Nash and Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and they kept having these matches week after week after week, day after day after day, and they just never felt they could really click. And by the time they ended at WrestleMania or whatever that they were doing, I can't remember exactly what the interview was. They really had clicked, and we found it had the match that night on TV. That's what you see from house shows. So, am I surprised that Randy Orton who's not tremendous, and Roman Reigns, who is green in some ways. Didn't put on a great match? No, I'm not surprised at all. But that's the purpose of house shows. And that's why house shows are only 10, 15, 20 bucks as opposed to Raw, which is much higher. You get the opportunity to work out some of those matches and find that chemistry. But boy, he had just laid into Roman Reigns in this whole thing.
Gave him an RKO not once but twice, and I guess the second time was to make sure that announce table broke.
Yeah, I saw a great tweet from someone that said that the crowd for the table, the "you effed up" should have been screamed at the table because it didn't break the first time. Mm-hmm. So he had to go back and do it again. Interesting tweet followed that Randy Orton had tweeted that I'm back, and I think we're going to see him a little bit more of that old Viper. I was kind of looking for him to do a punt at some point. He was so into that older Randy Orton sort of mentality.
And that's the Randy Orton that a lot of us, including myself, have fell in love with.
Yeah.
You know, that sadistic type of Orton. You know, but again, the problem that he always seems to have over the years when he goes back to vintage Orton, as Michael Cole likes to call it, we get behind him. Eventually, it leads the powers that be in WWE to say, well, let's try to make him chase after whoever the champion is. And the chase is good. But once he becomes a champion, and I've been saying this for years, once he gets the belt, it's like whatever type of buzz he had going on, it's just gone. And then you're tired of him, you know?
I think the problem with Randy Orton is he is a terrible face, and he's a terrible heel. He is that tweener. He is a true definition of a tween. A guy who doesn't play to the fans, cheats just a little bit, but doesn't tell the fans to kiss off, and is worth cheering for. When he's in that middle, I think that's where he's at his best. I think you can kind of see where he's going here. Is he going to be anti-authority, but definitely not, pro-Cena? So he's going to be in that mix in the middle somewhere. And I think he might find his sweet spot there because he's not good on either this side or that side. It's when he's in the middle of the road, I think, is where he finds. The problem with that is when you get a little lost in the shuffle sometimes, and that's where he ends up at some point in his career. He gets a little lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. Honorable mention, Naomi and Natalya. They had defeated Alicia Fox and Cameron. Pretty decent tag match right there. We did see Y2J, Seth Rollins. I can't remember who had won that match. Was it Seth?
That's when the Wyatts came out, and I'm assuming that
there was no because the Wyatts.
I'm assuming with the Wyatts coming out, and when the lights go out and the lights come back on, and the referee and your opponent are all missing, that's probably a double disqualification. Pull that match out.
Yeah.
Don't ever forget the Snooze Fest Part 2 of Fandango versus Diego the Bull, and that was enough of that match.
Don't remind me.
Got to remember. So let's get to this. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get to the best part of the show, which was the end. Set it up.
Yeah, I mean, and folks, we had to be reminded throughout the course of 3 hours. Remember that slap that Brie gave Stephanie McMahon? Remember how last week called her a B word and Stephanie smacked her? And we got reminded of this, like, my God, it felt like every 25 minutes, man.
3 times.
It was ridiculous, man. But you know what? They set it up very nicely because the build-up was Brie Bella facing off in the middle of the ring with Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon, all you see of her throughout the night, she's a little bit agitated. She's concerned. She tells Triple H, look, I don't want to go back to jail. So much is at stake. I don't want to be an embarrassment to my family, the board of directors. I really need for this to all just go away. And the reason why she was stressing this and tripping is because apparently Brie did not drop 1 or 2 charges. And so Stephanie basically had this little meeting with Brie to hammer everything out so that Brie could drop all the charges. So we go to this segment, and I just love how Stephanie McMahon is playing this sweet, mother, if you will. Now it's the mother role of Stephanie McMahon because she wants to be a good example for her daughters and all that. And we see Brie come out. Brie tells her straight up, look, you want me to make these charges disappear? Okay, well, let's negotiate. I want it a little bit and says to her, well, how about I give your sister a raise? Brie's like, yeah, okay, fine. But that doesn't really take care of me. As Brie wanted her job back, at which Stephanie says, well, look, we only need one Bella. We really don't need two. Brie says, okay, well, bye. See you in court. Stephanie says, wait. Okay, you can have your job back. So are we done? Brie says, no, I want more. I want a match. At which Stephanie says, okay, so you want a match. Let me guess. You want a match for the Divas Championship. Brie says, no, I want a match against you at SummerSlam. Stephanie says, hey, I can't wrestle. I haven't been in the ring in over 10 years. Totally different now where I am. I'm a mother. You can relate to that. Come on now. And Brie wasn't having it. Brie said, see you in court. Finally, we saw a pretend sniffling, and that was like the worst acting I've ever seen from Stephanie thus far. But it was worse acting for a reason, because Stephanie McMahon, all humbled and sniffling, tells Brie, yeah, just one thing, and bitch smacks her and tells her that at SummerSlam she's going to make Brie Bella her bitch. And man, you just had the crowd there, Titus. The way they just erupted for that. I can definitely tell there was a lot of people that was looking at this segment on social media, and they're like, why are we ending it with these two girls? What's the payoff? Don't quite understand. What's the big deal right here? And if you're an old school wrestling fan like us, you remember how Stephanie was when she was really, really involved in the WWE product from back in the day. There was a lot of times where she would get physical. She would take bumps. Hell, to her credit, she was the women's champion, not the Divas champion. That's an entirely new belt. I'm talking about the women's championship. Little trivia, she defeated, I believe it was Jacqueline, to become the women's champion, and then Lita took the belt off of Stephanie. I don't really remember her reign being that of, and help me out, Titus, I don't remember her reign being that of, oh, wow, Stephanie is a really great wrestler. If anything, I remember her just holding the belt up as a prop and, like, running away from, like, every single challenge, wasn't it?
She was not a defending champion as far as I can recall. She, it was a shoulder piece for her. So, she wasn't a quote-unquote, wrestler in that aspect. I'm not going to, hold a lot up for this match as a wrestling match, but the intrigue of seeing Stephanie McMahon in a ring for the first time in a decade, that's going to be interesting. For me, the segment started off really kind of slow. I was not buying into this. My children, my kids, all my kids, they're embarrassed. My kids are made fun of at school. It was going south really fast. Then Brie comes out, and she, she's not a promo, that's for sure. The Bellas have never been great at doing promos. She said, "I'll see you in court," probably 8, 9, maybe 10 times.
Yeah.
I'll see you in court. Well, I'll see you in court. She was blackmailing her to get what she wanted. I'll drop the charges if you do for me. But whatever. Let's get out of the reality of things and go into the pretend world of professional wrestling. It was a setup by Stephanie. She wanted Brie to do everything that Brie had done, and she wants to be in the ring against Brie, and it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. And the two of them got into some fisticuffs. I haven't seen Stephanie in fisticuffs in I don't know how many years.
Two-parter. One is, I remember hearing details about Stephanie McMahon's contract, because usually yearly you get to hear what some of the big ups like Vince McMahon, Linda, Triple H, Steph, you get to hear what they made for that respective year when they filed their taxes and all that. Because apparently, since WWE is a traded company and all that, you're able to get that type of access available to view. And I remember, I want to say maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, Titus, there was a article that I had came across. I'll see if I can find it between now and this week. But there was an interesting article that had talked about a new deal that Stephanie McMahon had signed, and part of that deal was as an in-ring performer. And apparently, she had signed this deal for like 3 years, and I think she's supposed to do X amount of matches within those 3 years. So you combine that with, I want to say earlier this year, Titus, that we had saw those great hot spoken pictures of Stephanie McMahon working out and all that. This girl, I think when it's all said and done, folks, we aren't going to get another Stephanie McMahon in a mud bath match or whatever. I think we're going to be very surprised by what we're going to be seeing here, because Homegirl, and if you got that Triple H like Kingdom Come DVD, you know that usually when Triple H works out, I think he works out like, God, like 4 in the morning with Stephanie, and then they take the girls off to school, and then they pretty much begin their day or whatever. If they're still sticking to that schedule with their trainer and all that, I'm telling you guys, y'all are going to be very invested into this match. I don't think they're doing all this hype just for the hell of it. And if I were to give an early prediction right now, I dare say Stephanie McMahon is probably going to come out on top, because she's probably going to surprise the hell out of a lot of people with her in-ring ability. But Titus, the second part. So let me see if I got this straight. All this crap happens to Brie Bella. You see how your sister gets treated and all this other stuff, and basically you're doing the whole price line. Name your deal. Okay, so we're going to name deals, right? This is what I want. This is what I don't understand, right? Why didn't you say to Stephanie McMahon, you know what? After all the BS crap that... Now, look, the match with her and Stephanie at SummerSlam, I'm fine for that. Got no problem with that. But, let's negotiate a little bit more. All the times that you did all the crap that you did to my sister, I think she needs more than just a raise. I want you to put her in a number one contender spot, where she will, at a future date, take on the winner of the Divas match between Paige, AJ Lee. She'll take them on at the next pay-per-view. While we're at it, you disrespected my man, my husband, Daniel Bryan, a good amount of times. Daniel Bryan, who you just totally disrespect by stripping him of the championship. You didn't even have the audacity to do it to his face and, make it official, make it look classy. You know what? I want you guys to pay for that. And that's when Daniel Bryan comes back to the WWE, his very first match, you give him a shot at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship to make it right. And I want it to be a fair match. I mean, does that make sense?
Well, I think the Daniel Bryan part does make a whole lot of sense in the fact that it wasn't, even touched on, it wasn't even brought up, and so yeah, there's some definite questions on why Daniel Bryan wasn't brought up. It's kind of been pushed aside, but I think that's plays to the fact that we don't know how long Daniel Bryan's going to be gone. I mean, if some of the things that have been reported are even partly true, he's not going to be at WrestleMania next year, let alone back in the title hunt in the next year. So I think that part of that is, let's not rock the boat on something, because we don't know how long he's not going to be there. But yeah, I think that there's a lot you could have done with it. I think it's fine. Simple. Sometimes simple is better in that aspect.
Good way to close out the show, though, man. Because I must admit, the whole 3 hours, I was Sleep was my enemy. I was so tired. I was playing Injustice on the iPad. Those of you that know that game, you know exactly the game I'm talking about. Pretty badass game, too. It's
But
free.
the show actually ended, I'm sorry to interrupt, with a huge chant of Jamie Noble.
Yeah, how about that?
That's how the show ends, with the crowd yelling, not "This is awesome."
No.
No. Jamie Noble. So,
Yeah.
the WWE officials got more love at the end of that segment probably than anybody else. Fit Finlay was, of course, out there. Joey Mercury once again gets more face time. 2 weeks. Joey Mercury got more face time in Raw the last 2 weeks than he did in most of his time with Melina and John Morrison.
When I first saw him, because he looked so brown, I said to myself, holy crap, is Jonathan Coachman back? Then when I saw the front, I'm like, oh, it's Joey Mercury.
He looks a little different than he did in Eminem, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it was a good Raw. Not the best we've seen. The last couple of weeks were really, really good shows. I think the last two shows that followed the pay-per-view, this one was a little bit more cerebral. Storyline pushing, getting pieces put in place. You had Rusev and Swagger getting their pieces in place. You got Jericho getting his rematch with Bray Wyatt to try to continue this feud. You had Orton and Reigns set up. Don't know how Kane's going to fit into that whole mix. Maybe Kane ends up involved in some way. A lot of pieces of the puzzle put together in this show, and that's sometimes you just have to have that. You need to have that storyline pushing episode of TV to get things moving towards August 17th, which is not that far away before it's SummerSlam.
That SummerSlam access looks really good, too.
Oh, man, I'm on the wrong side of the country.
Yeah, I so want to go to that bad. I mean, to be able to meet Stone Cold Steve Austin that SummerSlam weekend, I would like so try to figure out a way, road trip or something, to go meet that man.
Hulk Hogan. I mean, it's just going to be a stacked event.
Dude, I got to get your thoughts on this. Why the hell did WWE not show highlights from WWE invading Comic-Con? I mean, it's all on the website, folks, in case you all haven't gone to WWE's website today. But, you know, they're plugging little highlights from it. Sting's action figure that's going to be making his debut under Mattel. They had unveiled that at Comic-Con. Sting had made an appearance there. He did an exclusive interview with WWE, which was available and still is on their website. A little bit rattled. I am. I don't know about you, Titus, but I'm a little bit rattled that they didn't show highlights from WWE invading Comic-Con.
You wonder.
It's like, who's writing this?
You wonder. I'm just sitting here thinking, if you really want to have fun with that last segment with Stephanie and Brie Bella should have said, I want my job back. I want my sister to have a raise. Damn it, I want ice cream bars. and get the ice cream bars. That's when you launch the ice cream bars once Brie Bella. That would have stuck it to CM Punk pretty hard, wouldn't it?
It really would have. It really would have. Oh, dude, how about the passionate speech, though, that Triple H was saying to the fans about how they heckled his wife and all that? Did you see the tweet I put out? I said, okay, so wait a minute. Triple H can talk very passionately about what was happening with Stephanie and her trouble brushing with the law and all that, but where's the same energy and passion for what had went down with Emma?
Yeah, no doubt, right?
I mean, seriously, man. What the hell?
Yeah, I'm still wondering as part of, and this is, WWE is notorious for stars having to pay penance for mistakes. I'm waiting for Emma's penance as a embarrassing theft, type of things playing off of that. Who knows? I'm waiting for her return on that aspect. But yeah, it was a good show. I wouldn't 3 stars out of 5.
Ooh, see, I got to think of the 1 to 10 scale for me. It's too late.
Yeah, then it's a 6.5.
I'm matching you, 6.5. Yeah, 6.5. All right, Titus, let's address the elephant that's in the room right now. TNA Wrestling. Boy, for those of you that maybe didn't read the wrestling feeds out there and all that, big news for TNA Wrestling. Apparently, the way it's looking right now, and I want to stress apparently, the way it's looking, TNA Impact Wrestling has been canceled by Spike TV. TMZ was one of the first to break this news early yesterday, or actually, it's midnight now, so we could actually say early yesterday morning. And basically it said that there was no bitter feelings towards TNA Spike TV. This was just a case where Spike TV, they did inform them that, hey, this is what's going on. You guys have more than enough time to go get yourselves a new TV deal if you want. Remember, we told you guys how they had hooked up with a new agency a couple of months back, and that's been working out pretty good for them. I mean, they've been getting nice little interview spots on TV, radio. It's doing very well for them. And if you've been checking out our Impact Showdown episodes, you know I've been telling you guys over the past couple of weeks, way before this news even came about, that these New York City shows is really going to tell the future for the TNA product. To their credit, they've been delivering some very good content. Definitely will admit that. Still having problems with their house shows, but that's an entirely different story. But looks like Dixie Carter, she had tried to do damage control earlier in the evening by saying that negotiations with Spike TV are still ongoing. Representative of Viacom had basically said the same thing. I'm sure at this point, any future interviews that TNA wrestlers have, this is probably going to be the number one topic that are going to be asked about. And, go figure. How TNA prepares them, that remains to be seen. We'll know in due time. I spoke about this for about 20 minutes. I really don't have too much more I want to say, but I was asking Titus throughout the day if he can, chime his thoughts on it. So, Titus, run with it as long as you want, buddy, and I'll just jump in afterwards.
Well, what I'll say, first and foremost, is a couple of things. One, reports are. That's all we know. Reports are that Viacom, Spike TV, is not going to renew the contract of TNA. That could be dirt, or it could be, legit. So let's just talk as it's legit. Let's just look at it from that aspect. From the aspect of a fan perspective, this is terrible. When you don't have competition, you don't maintain your business at the top level. WWE, and people say, well, WWE isn't that great, whatever, but they're only as good as they're being pushed. Monday Night Wars is a good example of that. But it's even worse for those that are workers, guys and girls who are performers. That's one less place to work. That was a problem when we lost WCW. There was no place else to go. So these are bad things, all right? Let's look at what TNA does. TNA has, if they've lost their contract deal, which I've expected to have happen, because you have to know that Spike TV has dropped a lot of money into TNA. That's how they afforded guys like Hulk Hogan. That's how they afforded, Spike TV was funding some of that money. A business can only lose so much money and not see a return. And for the most part, TNA has never broke the Nielsen ratings. They sit about a 1 rating, which translates to about a million people a week watch that, where you're looking anywhere between 4 to 5 to 6 or 7 million, depending on what you're seeing on Monday Night Raw. Right. If they're going to be out shopping, they have some concerns. Reports were that WWE did not get the money that they expected in their deal when they signed a new deal with USA and this past spring or early summer. They were shopping, couldn't find anything bigger. They got a small deal. So if WWE got a smaller than expected deal, that tells you what money that TNA will get. They will get less than they expect. That's just business. That's a precedent. So if that's what's going to happen, it's going to make it even harder for them to find a deal. Someone will be interested in them. I mean, you'll get 1 million people to watch our network every single week, and then we can, put commercials in there for our stuff to get. There's a reason for taking them on, and somebody will. But will it be enough money for TNA to be able to continue their product at the level it is now? And let's be real, they don't have the sort of production budget that WWE has. There's just a difference in product there. So are they going to get that deal that's going to be viable for them? And if not, are they for sale? Are they going? Is Dixie going to just, is Panda Energy going to say, no TV, no wrestling, let's just get rid of it? We're done. Are they for sale? Who's to blame? Those are the questions that people ask. And who's to blame for this? I'll point the finger. I'll point the finger where it needs to be pointed. I pointed at Dixie Carter. And this is a problem when you have non-wrestling people doing wrestling. Look at WCW. When people who were not in wrestling were in charge of WCW, what happened? I thought there was a lot of interesting finger pointing going around today. Jim Cornette, he pointed fingers at Vince Russo. Taz publicly unfollowed Vince Russo today, saying he's only interested in pushing his brand. Is it interesting that Vince Russo was in the demise of WCW and has been just recently shown that he's been consulting with TNA and part of that demise as well? Does Vince Russo have that closing my company jinx? Where does this land Double J? Where does Global fit in this whole thing? He said that he is either contractually unable to work with Spike or did not want to try to work with Spike on TNA. Does this change that? Does that give him an opportunity to bring his product onto Spike TV? Who knows? I've seen lots of tweets about Vince buying TNA. Vince McMahon is not buying TNA. There's nothing to buy. Remember that, was it 13 years ago or so, Vince paid $5 million for WCW. If WCW, with its rich history and its rich library of video, went for $5 million, how much money is TNA and TNA's library going to go for? $750,000? That's what it's worth.
That's if you're lucky, yeah.
And if you're lucky. No, he's not going to buy it. He may want the library at some point. Sure, he will. It adds more content to put on the network. But does he need it? Does he need that kind of stuff? I told you, Lee, off air, that if it were I, and I'm sitting in Titan Towers in Stamford, Connecticut, and I've got Vince, Triple H, and Stephanie sitting at the board room, and we're on the desk, I'm pitching to buy TNA. Give them their $700,000, whatever they want for the library. Tell the fans we're going to keep TNA open. We're going to use it as part of NXT and the whole branding. You can see it every single week live on the WWE network, where wrestling belongs, and try to pull those 1 million people to spend money over there. That's what I would do. And if Vince is half the businessman that I think he is, which is twice the businessman I am, he's got to cross his mind. This is something that's been coming for a while. This is a problem with TNA wrestling. I have talked with guys at TNA, people who I won't name names because I don't want to embarrass them. It's not, who've
right.
said things such as Dixie Carter doesn't talk to people who are older. They've, older people are they're out of touch with new things. Well, Dixie isn't a spring chicken. So for her to badmouth experienced veteran wrestling people, that shows that she has no love for the business. People who say, I don't know why they're going in this direction, or this was a good idea and they dropped that. This is a management issue, not talent. My issue has never been with talent. It's been how the talent has been used. It is how talent has been booked. It is how the storylines have gone on. My issue with TNA Wrestling has nothing to do with any of those men and women busting their ass in front of 27 people at a baseball stadium at a house show. And they still do what they need to do. My problem is Dixie Carter and the people that she puts around her. Is there a blame? It is Dixie Carter, because in the end, the buck stops with the boss. You know, Lee, you are the heart and soul of the RCWR show. If this show goes to pot, it is you. This is your business. This is your product. It's your vision. You're to blame. Yeah. Vince McMahon, he's to blame. Dixie Carter is the boss. So who's to blame? It's Dixie. Sorry if I offended anybody, but it's the truth. So what's the future of TNA? I think they get a deal. I think they get something someplace, whether it be, you know, another men's channel like Esquire TV, or they get it on Oprah, or they'll get it on someplace, because that's 1 million people who watch it every single week, and some network will want to try to capitalize on new eyes on their network.
Let's be for real.
But is it enough money to keep that company open?
Let's be for real. Let's be honest. When it comes to Spike TV during the week, how many of us actually go, you know what, I got to watch Spike TV this week because this is going to be on, this is going to be on, and this is going to be on? Me personally, if I wasn't checking out Spike TV for Impact Wrestling, maybe I would be watching Spike TV to check out a new episode of 1,000 Ways to Die. Other than that, I couldn't tell you what the hell their channel lineup is.
The last time I watched Spike TV wasn't for wrestling, because you know I don't watch Impact. Mm-hmm. It was because Cops was on. I was looking to see if Stephanie was on the show. No, but you're right though. That's the thing. You know, if TNA Wrestling cannot draw on Spike Network, a network built for men,
right,
and the demographic that fit wrestling, I mean, Spike bought Bellator. They're in the combat hand-to-hand business. Does Spike buy TNA? Who knows? Hey, we got Bellator. That's the same thing as wrestling. Let's put them together. That, again, goes back to non-wrestling people handling wrestling companies. You know, it's my argument when people tell me that this should be happening or that should be happening or WWE needs to do this. Well, you're not a wrestling person. You're not in the business. You don't know what happens behind the curtain. This is a product of this is the same demise as WCW and the end of WCW. Stupid gimmick stuff, you know, paying a bunch of money to have Kiss come out and have the Demon on WCW every single week. That was stupid. Master P and his regulators, whatever they were, that was stupid. TNA does a lot of the same stuff. I've already seen those mistakes. It didn't work the first time, and here we are. You lost your TV deal. And no TV, no pro wrestling. That's indie wrestling. And I know indie companies who have TV deals, and TNA Wrestling, the number 2 company in the entire United States, doesn't have one anymore as of September.
Does TNA Wrestling, you know, let's say we're in charge of TNA, we're in a position where we can give advice to somebody and they can definitely run with it, all right? Just hypothetically speaking. I would like to see TNA Wrestling, first off, get a permanent venue. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I see, you know what, I'm thinking about starting up my own wrestling promotion. Hell, Big Sky Wrestling. We were plugging them like I don't know how many times over the past several weeks. These guys were able, with the limited resources that they had, they were able to rent out an auditorium, sitting capacity of about maybe, I'd say 200, 250 people. You know, if they can do something like that, then TNA Wrestling, I think at this point, and they should have been working on this a long time ago, maybe they've been doing a little bit of homework while they were out there in the New York City area, but at this point, they need to find a permanent venue, right? Do you think, Titus, maybe they go into the whole method of, you know what, the WWE Network seems to be working well for them. Maybe we need to look into some type of capabilities to stream our live shows on our website, because they did experiment with it before in the past, Titus. Remember they used to do the whole live pre-show, post-show, and in between commercial breaks or whatever. You'd see Jeremy
they got their
Borash.
start on pay-per-view every single
Exactly.
week. That was their first way of being in business.
Yeah.
But remember, who put that all on?
The
Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Jerry Jarrett, wrestling people who get the business. First off, we don't know how WWE is doing at the network. We're going to find that out on Thursday with the earnings report. We'll see how that really turns out. That's going to be an interesting. It could be a terrible week for professional wrestling in general. If the network numbers don't come out looking, if they don't have close to 1 million subscribers, there could be a real problem at Titan Towers. Then you've got this. It's a bad deal for wrestling right now. It's not good. What does TNA need to do? If Lee and Mitch were put in charge, first thing is you fire a lot of people and you bring in people. You see, it's not about being the smartest or the best. See, the best business people, Donald Trump isn't a multi-billionaire because he's just so smart. He's just smart enough to put the right people around him making the right decisions.
Yeah.
You see, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Dixie Carter, by everything I know, is probably a nice woman, but she wants yes men, and that's what's hurt Vince over the years. John Laurinaitis was not the best person to be put in charge because he was a yes man. That's a good idea. That's a great idea. That's what Dixie has around her. I know this for a fact. It's not circumstantial. People I know who've been in the offices, wrestlers, non-wrestlers, she likes to have the people around her that agree with her. Well, then you're a terrible business person, because I want you to tell me if I'm doing something stupid or wrong. That's what makes you great. So you need to fire a lot of people and put the right people in place. Now, who? Well, I don't know off the top of my head, but guys with a real head of the business. Right off the top of my head, I'd love to have a guy like Jake Roberts working with me. He gets the business. He knows the business. He's not in charge of anything because you don't know how Jake's going to last. But, him being able to talk to this young talent and get them moving, to sit on the creative team. You look at WWE, you got Michael Hayes. I mean, he understands his business. He understands where it's coming, where it's gone to. You need those kind of people around you, not kicking away the old guy because he's out of touch. That's wrong. That's wrong. And that's a quote from a former TNA star.
I think it's interesting. D'Lo Brown had put this interesting tweet that was out. I'm not sure how long ago it was, but I thought this was interesting. Let me pull this up. Direct quote. Back in time to 2000, and on any given Monday night, there were 10 to 12 million people watching wrestling between Nitro and Raw. Fast forward to 2005, and there's been 2.5 million people watching. So where did the 9.5 million people go? They all didn't just get up and die. They turned the channel. Now that 2.5 million is like, oh, well, that's pretty good. We got ourselves a million plus. What does WWE average every single week?
They get around a 3.7 to a 4 rating, which I think equates to about 4 million or so. Where are they? Where are they? It's a great point. And D'Lo I like D'Lo Brown. He was there for my gut check when I tried to get on TNA, which, as I sit here today, I'm in the best gig of this or TNA. This is a better gig. I know that there will be a contract for me next week. TNA, D'Lo Brown makes a good point. Where are the fans? Where are those fans at? Well, some of them were just the right fans for the right time. Everybody keeps talking about the Attitude Era, and as I hit back I think it was a week or so ago, this isn't the Attitude Era. There is no Stone Colds and Rocks and and NWOs and DXs, and it's gone. Those stars are gone, and we haven't replaced those stars with exact replacements. The casual fan lost interest, and they did switch the channel. He's right. They changed the channel. They turned on UFC. They turned on, something else that was more interesting to them. It comes down to the product. You turn the product on, they'll come back. If you build it, they will come.
You're right.
But we're in, and let's be real. What was the Attitude Era based around? What was WWE in the late 90s? It was truly TNA. It was boobies and asses. That's what it was. It was for a 18 to 30-year-old male. It was a freaking heaven. You had bra and panties matches. You had hot chicks, language, violence, attitude. It was everything that the 20-year-old male, I know, I was that, wanted. Oh my God, it was testosterone in a bottle. It's gone. And don't tell me we need to return to the Attitude Era, because if it was be allowed on TV today, it'd be on TV today. TNA dangled with it a little bit, didn't get much out of it. I don't know what the answer is, and if I did, I'd be doing it. I wouldn't be talking about it. It's just a sad day. If this report is true, if this is how it's going to be, that they're going to be off a Spike, I don't know how they survive it. I don't know how, and fortunately I'm not having to worry about that. But they're not going to get a deal like they have today. This Spike TV deal was lucrative in the sense that it helped keep them running. They gave them extra money to bring in new stars to help bring up that rating, because Spike was using TNA to leverage into what they went into Bellator. They're pushing their programming off of what they had on TNA Impact, and there's no draw with Impact now. It's gone. It's just the same people. And the minute Impact, what do you watch after? You just told me what you watch. It's not Spike TV, right?
No.
You're not getting a carry through, and that's why you have a TV program. You have TV programs to have people sit in front of the television and watch your channel, because then they get to see all the ads that you sell. If you're not getting any carryover from that 1.0 Nielsen rating, from the minute that Impact ends, they turn the channel, then why do I have this? It's not giving me, any bleed over. What's the ratings like? Well, it's been one for the last 4 years, 5 years. It's not growing. We're not getting additional advertisers. There's no money in it, and you're dropping money to bring in other people. If you don't bring in Hulk Hogan and don't bring in people for that, I don't know what you got, because he drew a huge rating on Raw on his return before WrestleMania.
Somewhere in California, possibly, there is the man that they call Sting, probably smiling and saying to himself, did I jump that ship in time, my heart goes out to the men and women that work in that promotion. I have nothing but good things to say about them. They're all good people. I love and appreciate the fact that they get in there and they do what they can to entertain the fans. That's what it's all about at the end, having something good and entertaining to talk about, and they've been making the effort, and it sucks that they're caught up in the crossfire of this. I hope that something happens for them. They get some type of deal, even if the result is Spike TV, possibly acquiring TNA by buying them out and all that. I hope that they're able to continue to stay in business. This is why we always tell you guys, support all types of indie wrestling, because it's tough times out there right now. Economy's been pretty bad the past couple of years, and everybody, there's only so many people that can get into the WWE and go work for Dragon Gate and New Japan. The local scenes it can be tough for some people, from what few conversations I've had with some folks that work the circuits. So definitely represent. And Titus, I have a fun question to ask you here. I promised this guy I was going to follow up on what you said last week. I'm going to read you just snippets. This comes from Gen X7, and this was with regards to your Horseman pitch. He said, no Horsemen. They tried that with Evolution, and there's no reason for it. All the guys you suggested have had careers in WWE anyway. You want to do it, it has to be new wrestlers and not already established guys. I'm going to read one more part for you here. Fans are going to want certain guys in the group to be world champion, like a Dolph or Cesaro. If you have them playing second fiddle to another, you're only prolonging and continuing them floundering in the mid-card. And not one of those guys is going to sniff the world title in the next 2 to 3 years with Roman Reigns on the horizon and Daniel Bryan returning. So essentially, they'll be holding the IC and tag team titles. That completely undercuts the premise of the Horsemen. The Horsemen might work if they still had 2 belts, the world and the WWE, but now as it stands, it's just one. Furthermore, there's no need for a Horseman group. We're almost done. The original Horsemen were done because they were portrayed as buddies on TV. Dolph Miz just had a little feud. No telling what they are doing with Cesaro. And they've already tried the high-profile thing with Axel. Plus, he's somewhat over with Ryback. It reeks of desperation to put a Horseman group together for no reason. It would make more sense for Flair to find some guys in NXT that have been working together and have them come together. Also, you have Xavier Woods, who just started a group of his own to build up. Flair would be better suited to maybe just take Dolph under his wing and build him up.
I would completely and utterly disagree. To say that by holding men back by not being the world title, first off, why are we saying the Intercontinental title is a waste of time? To only be the world champion, that the WWE Championship is, if that's everything, then Roddy Piper is a complete and utter loser because he never held a world title ever, and he's a WWE Hall of Famer. To say that they'd be floundering in mid-card, tell me that Tully Blanchard, one of the greatest NWA TV champions of all time, was floundering as TV champion? You're telling me that Arn Anderson didn't have a career because he didn't have the world title, was an incredible tag team champion? They didn't flounder. They each had a role to maintain. Dolph Ziggler is not going to carry the flagship of the WWE. He's not. He's not. He doesn't have it. It is an it factor. It is not there. He doesn't have it. That's just the way it's going to be. You can yell for Ziggler all day long. He doesn't have it. He isn't somebody that you would throw on to make a wish. He's not somebody you throw on to run 7 different TV shows in a daytime, pushing the television, the TV taping of the Monday Night Raw tonight. He's not. CM Punk did all that. He had the it factor. John Cena has the it factor. Hulk Hogan has the it factor. Ric Flair has the it factor. Triple H had the it factor. Shawn Michaels had the it factor. Are you telling me that Dolph Ziggler lines up with one of those guys? No, he doesn't do it. He's a mid-carder. Now, he can be the great mid-carder and have a great career going after the Intercontinental title, holding it for a long time, and being that member of a group. What made the Horsemen so great, it was not all Ric Flair. It was to start out with, it was 4 extremely talented men in Arn and Ole Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Ric Flair. All of them incredible wrestlers before the Horsemen. All of them incredible wrestlers as the 4 Horsemen.
With an incredible manager too, and J.J. Dillon.
Yes. And so none of them are floundered at all. They all had amazing careers. And anybody who touched the Horsemen, after Ole, Barry Windham, he had a resurgence, build up in his career. Lex Luger probably wouldn't have had the career he had if it wasn't for a run as a member of the Four Horsemen. So it's not to degrade anybody. It actually enhances, I think, everybody. It takes him to a solid level as an established character. Cesaro, the enforcer of the Four Horsemen, is an established character. He's not with Zeb Coulter being We the People and not being American, and then he's with Paul Heyman, and now he's not with Paul Heyman, but then he hugs Paul Heyman. He has nothing. It is, well, what are we going to do with him today? Putting a Horseman group together allows you to do a couple of things. It allows you, and I understand where you're coming from on the NXT side. I understand that, and in some ways agree with you. It can't be all new people. It could be one, possibly two, but no more than that. You need to have that establishment as part of it as well. Like I was saying about Xavier Woods, they don't have an established person, that focal point, that gravitas, that veteran leadership. They need that. So you can't have it all be 4 stars, 4 young guys out of NXT. But putting some of these guys with Ric Flair, my 4 picks, I'm only solid on 3 of the 4. I could let Curtis Axel go anywhere else and bring in a young star, a Sami Zayn, which doesn't fit because he's too good of a guy. But a young guy from NXT, absolutely. Miz is got that it factor. He can go from show to show to show to show, promoting the WWE, because that would be the role of the leader of the Four Horsemen. Ric Flair running with these guys makes them better, because Ric Flair is wrestling. He knows it. He's lived it. He bleeds it. He knows everything there is that he can be. He can give to these guys. So it's not a waste to run a Four Horsemen. Plus, you're sitting on it. You're sitting on this brand of the Four Horsemen, and you're not using it. It'd be as if Ford goes, "Yeah, we've got the name Mustang, and we had them in the past, but why bring out new Mustangs? Because it's a brand. It's still a Mustang. It's still a Camaro. They still make them all these years, and people still buy them because it's an established brand. You're sitting on the Four Horsemen, the most recognized group in the history of professional wrestling. Putting 4 fingers in the air means the Four Horsemen, and you're not using it. You're not using it. You might as well use it.
Hell, if I could have my way and I got the green light to do a new Four Horsemen, I would probably, of those names that you mentioned, I would probably take Dolph Ziggler out, and I would actually put Tyler Breeze in there, because when I look at him, and maybe this is just the old school part of me that's talking, but when I see him, he's got a combination of Gorgeous George, a young, arrogant Ric Flair, combined. He's just got that whole flashiness to him, that whole cockiness. I see a little bit of that attitude era Shawn Michaels that was always pushing the envelope. I see all that in him. I
agree 100% with you, Lee.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I could see him pulling it off if they got him in there.
Because he fits that role. He fits that Tully Blanchard role of the pretty boy, the playboy. That's what Tully was at that time frame. He was just the hottest guy in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fits it perfectly. Good. That's a good call.
Yeah. If I were to look at one other guy, like maybe a new guy, I'm with you on maybe Curtis Axel, because it's kind of like, man, you have Paul Heyman, you couldn't juggle that. Why should we even entertain the idea of putting you in this stable? I'm just thinking about the NXT roster right now. What's that guy? The one that it looked as though he was about to be the new version of CM Punk. And no, folks, I'm not talking about Seth Rollins. There's some guy in NXT. He does this with the fists and all that. I can't think of his name right now. You know what I'm talking about, though, Titus?
The name escapes me.
He looks like he's some type of a new straight edge guy. I don't know if maybe he might be able to pull it off. I'm just
Hey,
going on.
I'd throw Bo into that as well. I would throw Bo as absolutely Bo replaces Curtis Axel any day of the week, in my opinion. The only reason I didn't put Bo there in the first place was because Bo has been working the Believe gimmick.
Right.
But absolutely Bo fits into that. As long as he doesn't take a shower before he walks out. Someone needs to tell Bo, you don't shower with your gear on. But
yeah. That's how it looks, man. That's
how it looks.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at the comments, Titus, that's been coming in since we've been on the air. Not really too much to like really go in depth about, man, which is a good thing for us. I mean, you got some people that were a little bit disappointed that they didn't get to see Brock Lesnar tonight. Come on now, you know Brock Lesnar is like that piece of candy that you get for Halloween, that one good piece of candy, but it's very fattening, yet it's delicious, and your mom is like, I know you want to eat those off the break, but you got to take those in moderation. That's exactly how they're doing Brock Lesnar.
Am I the only one that didn't expect to see Brock Lesnar tonight?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I did not even cross my mind that he would be on tonight.
Yeah,
no. That didn't even cross my mind.
Nah.
Because tonight was about Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Last week was about Lesnar. See, that's storytelling.
Corey Graves.
Yeah, Corey Graves.
Yeah, Corey Graves.
But you have to have John Cena be strong to believe that he's going to have a chance to beat Lesnar. If he's out there and Lesnar kicks the crap out of him, well then it's not storytelling. You know, it's the problem with some fans, and I don't mean to be rude to anybody, but you want to just skip to the end of the book and not read the story. That's one of the things that blows me about professional wrestling these days is that the turnaround on these storylines are so fast. I mean, you would have a guy start a feud. It's Survivor Series because there are only 4 pay-per-views, and they'd run at WrestleMania, and they'd and then they have their rematch at SummerSlam, and that'd be the end of it. It would go for 7, 8, 9, sometimes 12 months. You get this long story. We're in a different time. I get it, 24-hour news cycle. You have to, run things all the time. But let's enjoy the story being told. We all anticipate Brock Lesnar beating John Cena at SummerSlam. I expect that. We all kind of expect that. But let's watch the story unfold. Let's not have him on right now and just, annihilate Cena. That'd be fun. Come on. You want Brock Lesnar to annihilate John Cena? Watch Extreme Rules or the night after WrestleMania from last year. Or better yet, turn on WWE 2K14. Do it yourself. Watch it over and over and over. Enjoy the show for the next couple of weeks building up to SummerSlam.
Yeah. I agree with you on that note. On that note, we're going to end the show. I did look at all of you all's comments. I didn't really see anything that kind of really jumped out there to talk about. But don't be disappointed because I will actually respond to every single one of you guys probably later today as I usually interact with you guys in the morning and all that. Another great show. As always, we thank you guys for staying up with us. You can share this number of ways one more time. Google Plus and Facebook. You know what to do, man. Just do what you got to do. Share this. We appreciate it. Make sure you also give this piece a thumbs up. Keep the conversations going. Also, we're going to try to do a little bit of something new in the coming weeks where maybe we can try to do a portion of the shows here on Monday nights, and we have a section just dedicated to like good Q&A. So you guys are more than welcome to post some really good questions. It doesn't have to be about necessarily the WWE product. You can kind of go left field a little bit, but get the questions going and all that, and we can actually tally them all up, and maybe we can spend a good chunk addressing those questions. But do keep the conversation going down below.
Love the questions, Lee. I had one last week where guys like, I love you, I respect you, don't always agree with you. Perfect. because I don't want everyone to agree with me. 'Cause what fun would it be to agree all the time? Me and Lee don't see everything eye to eye. If we did, what fun would the show be? This is what I think, Lee. You're right, Titus. This is what I think. You're right, Lee. That's a boring show. So yeah, I want you to tell me that you don't think we need a 4 horsemen, because a great leader listens to other opinions. That's why Dixie's in deep trouble now.
Ain't that the truth?
And on that note, I am the evil genius of professional wrestling. You can follow me at Evil Genius Titus on Twitter, or go to TitusMachiavelli.com.
Great website too, man. You guys won't be disappointed. Check it out. I usually pop my head in there once a week, see what you are up to. You write any new blogs this week?
I haven't. I've been lazy. I've been doing other things. And I was just thinking the same thing. I need to refresh the page.
I'd love to.
Got to get my people on that.
I'd love to see a new excerpt on TNA. That'd be interesting. That'd be real interesting. You know where to follow us. All the links is in the episode description. That's going to do it, man. He's Titus Machiavelli. Lee Sanders here, wishing all y'all to be safe, be kind to one another. Good night, good morning. Everybody, take care.
Hey.